I'm excited about the regular S23, and you're probably wondering why. Because it's not the most exciting, not the most beautiful, not the most maximized, specced out version of the phone. That's not necessarily what everybody wants nowadays, and it's actually really nice to have a smaller flagship, almost flagship level phone. It's really hard to say flagship because it doesn't bring like the Quad HD Plus resolution, it doesn't have the nicer camera, no macro mode, doesn't have an LTPO screen. Like, there's stuff it doesn't have, but around $799, I'm a little bit more forgiving because Samsung does bring the most premium Android phones to the US market. However, the big issue that the S22 had is that it had horrible battery life. Absolutely horrible battery life. Now, I have the S22 Plus here, and I'm waiting for my S23 to get here. But with the experience that I've had with the S23 Ultra, with what I've seen in the reviews, the battery stuff, that's what has me excited. Because I liked almost everything about the S22 this last year, and I talked about it. I talked to other people about it, made some videos. I think it's a good phone. When you have a 1080p resolution, not the end of the world whenever it comes to the smaller 6.1 inch screen, because you don't have as much of that pixel per inch issue. Like 1080p looks fine on 6.1. On 6.6, I like to have the Quad HD Plus, especially for the $1,000, right? S23 Plus, not a fan. They charge $1,000 for a phone that's not even fully flagship. So, S23, I think it's a good middle ground because a lot of folks like the Ultra, and the ones that don't like the Ultra like having a smaller phone. They like having the completely flat screen, the thin profile. They like having the smaller stuff. Like, they don't want a gigantic phone. Not everybody wants a big, gigantic phone like this. Now, this is my S22 Ultra. Very, very big phone. But, yeah, I ditched my S22. The reason I ditched it was because it was basically useless to me. I was barely getting about 3.5 hours of screen on time, which is just horribly abysmal. Now, they did add a slightly, just a little bit bigger battery to the S23, but the big thing is what we have under the hood. The same thing that's under the hood in my OnePlus 11, which I like a lot. I've had a lot of experience for the last month with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 chipset. And I've been talking about this for weeks because it's so much more power efficient. It stays cooler. It doesn't get hot. It doesn't do the overheating business. It doesn't need to be seriously throttled to make it usable. All that turns into a much better battery experience. So I've been getting a great battery experience with my OnePlus 11. Fantastic phone. But there's some folks out there who want a smaller experience. Same kind of people who want something like the Pixel 6a. Smaller profile, slimmer, not as big as stuff going on. So it makes for a nice one-handed experience. But again, the big issue with the S22 is the battery life. And I had so many people in the comment section in the video saying, oh my gosh, I love this phone, but the battery life is horrendous. I mean, the S22 Ultra didn't have the greatest battery life, but the S22 had horrendous, terrible battery life. And I don't know anyone that said it actually had good battery life. So to bump it up just a tiny notch, just a little bit extra, I still think the battery life is, like, the battery itself is too small. But they bumped it up a little bit, 6.1 inch screen, 1080p plus resolution, and it's got the 120 hertz refresh rate with the 1080p. It doesn't throttle all the way down to like 1 or 10 hertz, but it does do some throttling down. It helps save some of the battery life. 2x AMOLED display. Samsung makes some beautiful screens. And of course, it's going to have the higher nits brightness across the board. I'm still not crazy about the fact that it has 25 watt wired charging. Like, it's 2023. At least the S23 Plus and the Ultra have 45 watt charging. The reason they do this is because it has a smaller battery, and here's the thing. If you use higher powered charging, it creates more heat and it can do more damage, more wear and tear to the battery over time, especially if you're charging it a lot. So, having a smaller battery, you can't afford to be losing those battery cells. And that's why they have the things like battery health, especially with the iPhone, and you look at the battery status with the Android phones, you can see kind of how much life your battery has left in it. So, when you charge all the time, especially with wireless charging, especially when it comes to high-powered wired charging, it can put more wear and tear on the battery, degrade the life faster, and it won't last as long. And when you have a phone you're saying you're going to support for 5 years, the S23 is supposed to be supporting 4 years of operating system updates, 5 years of security patches. That's fantastic. That means you'll have a good experience for a long time. And with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, you should have a really high caliber flagship level experience. Now, you're not going to have the big Quad HD Plus resolution. You don't get the macro camera. You don't get some of those extra things. You don't get the S Pen like you do with the S23 Ultra, the S22 Ultra. But not everybody wants that. and a lot of people really like Samsung. Like, again, Samsung is the biggest Android brand in the US, and it's not the $1,000 price phone. So, like I said, there's kind of two camps. I know some people do like to go down the middle, get the Plus series, but there are a lot of folks that really like having a 6.1-inch screen. Nice, easy to hold, good form factor, but you don't have a lot of compromises. Even though I am a little frustrated it doesn't come with the 256 baseline storage, 128, I really feel like the S23 should be $699. Like, just speaking frankly, they got rid of the S22 FE like it didn't happen. The S21 FE was the last one that happened. I really feel like the S23 should be a $699 phone, and I think it would compete better, especially when you look at phones like the OnePlus 11, $699. You look at the Pixel 7, $599. But I know that a lot of people do like the Galaxy S series models. So I'm excited about the S23. I'm going to get one. Mine will probably be here in about a week or so once it finally shows up. My S23 Ultra did finally ship. It's supposed to be here in just a few days, so I'm excited about that. That'll be a good time. Test it out, finally get to put it through its paces and tell you what I think about it. But I am going to get the S23 as well because, well, I really like the S22. But again, the battery life was just so terrible that it was basically something I couldn't use as even a secondary daily driver. The battery life was so poor I couldn't even carry it around and use it as a secondary phone. So I'm hopeful to see what Samsung has done here. I think it'll be good. Everything I'm seeing, all the reports I'm seeing on the Ultra, all the stuff I've seen from my own testing with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, then also what I got with my experience with the Z Flip 4 this last year, with the 8 Plus Generation 1, I think it's going to be an exciting time. I think people who are interested in getting the S23 will probably be happy with it. And I think it's probably going to shore up a lot of that area. I'm expecting probably at least about an extra hour and a half of screen on time. Even with the S23 Ultra, they were saying, at least GSM Arena with their testing, getting 4 extra hours of video time, 5 extra hours of browsing time when it came to like using Chrome and stuff like that. So I think there's some significant advantages and battery savings and performance metrics there that's going to make the S23 the phone that we wanted the S22 to be. So that's all I got. Going to go ahead and wrap this one up, but that's why I'm excited. I'm excited about the S23, and overall I'm pretty excited about the series in general. I like the Samsung phones. I always cover them. I use my Z Fold 4 every single day. Actually, I do like my Fold more than I like my Ultra. So it's going to be a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of pain point for me to switch from my Fold 4 to my S23 Ultra and use it for a couple of weeks solely because I really like having that extra screen space, the bigger stylus. I use all that stuff. I make my thumbnails with it every day, but I'm going to get fully immersed in this one. Honestly, I might switch out my iPhone. Normally I carry around an iPhone and an Android phone, but like what I did with the Fold 4 when it came out, I carried the Fold 4 and the S22 Ultra at the same time. And actually I did carry the Fold 4 and the Flip 4 for a couple of weeks too, and that was really fun. Like, I don't really have a problem carrying two Samsungs for a couple of weeks. It can be kind of an interesting, fun time. So that's why I'm excited about the S23. Are you excited about it? Are you looking forward to get one? Do you have any questions or concerns about it that I can address whenever I get mine, whenever I get ready to make my videos about it? Sound off in the comments and let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, if you like this stuff, then please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.